When I say the words Christian Horner, I have no doubt that at this very moment some people's blood has already started to boil. He's not exactly what you would call the most popular figure in F1, but there's something I thought about a few days ago. Objectively speaking, he is one of the greatest team principals of all time, but the success that he's achieved doesn't come close to matching the amount of hate that people have towards him. But why is that? And also, is the man actually underrated as a team principal? Well, that's exactly what came into my head, so let's find out. To call Christian Horner a Marmite personality would be massively understating how polarizing he, and Marmite to be fair, really is. There's that old saying of you either love him or you hate him, but in all honesty, whilst I've seen fans on social media that like team principals like Toto Wolff, Andreas Seidel, and even Matteo Binotto in some cases, I genuinely do not see people actively admit to being fans of Christian Horner. Like genuinely, if you ever see anyone talking about him, it's either because they're using the Karen Horner meme, or it's because they just don't like something that he's either said or done. But there's just something that hit me. This guy has been in charge of Red Bull for 17 years and going into his 18th season in 2022. That longevity is not just someone doing a decent job, that longevity is all-time levels of great. Now, for anyone that's wondering, although it's very subjective as to what you would consider a team principal and how long they've been in charge, Christian Horner ranks 4th all-time behind Sir Frank Williams, Ken Tyrrell, and Ron Dennis. The thing is, it's not just longevity which is important because, funnily enough, the man that's behind Christian Horner is Toro Rosso's / AlphaTauri's Franz Tost. Now, Franz Tost in his own way is a legend himself considering the talent that he's helped to bring through. But the real definition of a legendary team principal is not just their longevity, but what they achieved. Now, I'm not going to be doing a Red Bull history lesson, but when you consider where Red Bull started with the failed Jaguar team as their base, then bringing in Adrian Newey, which completely shifted the fortunes of the team, and then in those 17 years, winning 5 drivers' titles with 2 different drivers and 4 constructors' titles, I don't think people quite realize how ridiculously impressive those achievements actually are. In my opinion though, what I find more amazing than anything else is something that never really gets mentioned, which is how Christian Horner has maintained the standards at Red Bull, how in that time the team has never fallen back into the midfield, and how it's always been a top team since 2009. When you think about it, Ferrari, given their resources, have been underachieving for well over a decade. Yes, they've won races and gone to 3 title deciders with Massa and Alonso in 2008, 10 and 12, but the team has been so up and down that in 2014 and 2020, there's an argument to say that in those seasons they were a genuine midfield team. McLaren also are the only team vaguely in this conversation, although they haven't been a top team since Lewis drove for them back in 2012. And then even Mercedes, let's not forget that when they came in 2010 and up until arguably 2013 or 14, they didn't really become a consistent top team until then. Since 2009, Red Bull has consistently been undoubtedly a top team for well over a decade. And even if you look at 2015, which was their weakest season, yes, they had a bad year, but in comparison to Ferrari in 2020, they still scored 3 podiums and then immediately rebounded the next year in 2016, finishing 2nd in the Constructors and taking 2 wins against the dominant 2016 Mercedes. I think it's also worth remembering that unlike the Todd era of Ferrari or the current Wolff era of Mercedes, for the majority of that time, Red Bull were not a manufacturer team. They only became a pseudo-manufacturer team in 2019 when they partnered up with Honda, and whilst it's easy to look at their success now, it took a lot of guts to pick up Honda considering where they were after McLaren by Christian Horner, and yet again, in a pivotal moment for the team, he made the right choice that ultimately led Max Verstappen to his first world title. I think that's what really kind of surprises me about the perception of Christian Horner. Regardless if you like him or not, his resume and his longevity easily makes him one of the all-time greatest team principals, up there with the likes of Jean Todt, Ron Dennis, and anyone else that you can think of. He's not just a decent team principal doing an okay job, he's the type that the likes of Seidel and Binotto still have years to get to the level of his success. However, the most controversial thing about Christian Horner is the way in which he runs the team, and more specifically the environment which he creates for the number one driver. Now, the truth is that in modern Formula 1 there isn't ever a contractual number one driver. It's not like back in the days of Schumacher and Barrichello, where there was literally things in the contract that would say who the number one was. In modern Formula 1, the lead driver dictates their status within the team by simply coming in and being fastest with the equipment that they're given. However, the closest incarnation of a team and driver dynamic where there is a number one is undoubtedly the Red Bull team. Now, the Red Bull formula is actually fairly simple. They take a young driver from AlphaTauri and give them a chance in the top team, and if they immediately show that ability to outperform the previous number one, the team seems to naturally just form around them. When Seb came in 2009, it was obvious that he was immediately quicker than Webber, and so the team focused on him. When Ricciardo then came in and beat Seb in 2014, the team again formed around him. Then there's also the examples of when things don't quite work out, and in the case of someone like Daniil Kvyat, even though he did just outscore Ricciardo in his first season in 2015, Red Bull clearly felt that it was more down to Daniel having a bad season, and Horner and Marco clearly felt that Kvyat hadn't shown enough to be their next number one. And then of course, again, when Verstappen was given a chance, he immediately delivered, and although he wasn't seen as the outright number one driver from the off, by 2018, Daniel Ricciardo himself decided to leave because he could already see the writing was on the wall. This philosophy of backing a driver when you can see that they're the future is a very controversial one. I'm not saying that Horner is doing anything deliberately to slow their second drivers down, like keeping secrets from them, but the simplest way I can describe it is that when he has a special talent in his car that he knows is the one that can challenge for the title, he does everything in his power to put that driver in the best environment possible for them to perform to the best of their abilities. So, for example, the most extreme case was the Silverstone 2010 front wing incident, where Vettel blatantly got preferential treatment, and even to smaller stuff like with Max in 2021, where he was always playing into the media and always backed Max, regardless of the circumstances. This has been the Christian Horner pattern. He never missed an opportunity to praise Max and always side with him, and also when Seb was with Red Bull, he always knew how to put Seb in the best position mentally, and that's what propelled Seb to have that ruthless and also selfish mentality on the track. This might sound like a ridiculous thing to say out loud, but Horner is a good driver manager. He's just very cutthroat, and ultimately, when he finds his golden goose, so to speak, he does everything possible to put them almost above the team. Drivers have big egos, and sometimes they need that larger-than-life platform to perform at their best, and they need a man like Christian Horner to almost play into their own ego. There's also the image and feeling that he creates. He's been so hungry to fight with Mercedes that when it finally happened, he was never scared to get into a war of words with Toto Wolff. Now, what the media and the fans thought about it is one thing, and this is where the hate for Horner, in my opinion, really stems from. And although Horner denies it, I think he relishes that battle off the track between him and Toto. But I think when he does get into his off-track war of words, that was very entertaining, I must admit, and also backing his driver to the absolute fullest. Not only has every great team principal done that to an extent in the past, but I also think that the team, and especially Max, almost get energized by that strength and fight that Horner is able to show. Because they see that whilst Max is fighting hard with Lewis on track, Horner is fighting equally as hard with Wolff off the track, and I think mentally and psychologically that just lifts the entire team. Now, this way of working is very controversial with fans because it can come off as very one-sided and even unfair to the other driver. In the end, Red Bull and Horner, It's kind of your job to make sure that as the team principal, you do everything in your power to put them in the best position possible to succeed. And at the end of the day, although he gets criticized, has his methods produced results? Well, Seb is currently chilling with 4 championship trophies somewhere in his house, and Max is also now chilling with a World Championship trophy and probably using it as a cup holder or something next to his sim rig. You can have your opinion on the Red Bull methods, but there is no doubting their results. This to me is almost the ultimate paradox when it comes to Christian Horner and why he's so hated. In all honesty, from the outside, he seems like a terrible team leader when I look at some of the things that he says and does. But clearly it works, and I think honestly, it's because if you want to survive in the piranha club that is Formula 1, you have to be a piranha yourself. So what I'm trying to say with this video is that even though as a person Christian Horner is definitely not one of my favorite people, the man built a team from nothing to become one of the most successful teams of all time. He became the youngest team principal to win a championship. He's given a platform to 2 generational drivers when most teams can barely even find one, and for all of the criticism that he gets, his record of trophies and championships speaks for itself. You can hate the man all you want, and trust me on this one, I know a lot of people that do, but the man is objectively one of the greatest team principals of all time, and he's not stopping or going anywhere anytime soon. Well, there you have it, a video in which I praised Christian Horner. I'm not sure anything can get more controversial than that, but as always, let me know all of your thoughts in the comments box below. And if you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to drop it a like and smash that subscribe button to support the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.